How's everybody doing? It is Paul from Magpie 24/7 back again with another video. Wasn't planning to do this one, but Newcastle have released a club statement this evening about the takeover. So obviously big breaking news. It's got Nick DeMarco's fingerprints all over this and comes on the eve of the start of this long-awaited arbitration case, which is starting next week according to the information on their website. So I find it a little bit hilarious that Newcastle are asking for clarity and communication and openness and transparency when we've got Lee fucking Charnley in charge who put it this way, I'm surprised does he even communicate with his missus? Does he even talk to his own mother, his own kids? Probably not, because this is a man who just does not like to communicate, gets off on not communicating, yet the club is putting out things about transparency and putting the fans first and stuff like that. It's rich coming from Mike Ashley, it really, really is. It's rich coming from Lee Charnley. It's rich really coming from the club over the past decade or so. But yeah, the statement has been made. I'll go through it and then give you my 2 pennies worth on the entire thing. So it starts with, the club continues to receive requests for updates on its current arbitration claim against the Premier League, considering the lawfulness of the EPL's decisions regarding the proposed takeover of the club involving the PIF. Unfortunately, the club is unable to make any comments about the arbitration. The EPL rules provide the entire arbitration process is confidential. However, both parties can agree for it to be in public. The club believes it should be. The issues at stake, including the lawfulness of the EPL's decision-making process and the widely publicised alleged influence of the EPL's commercial partners on the EPL's decisions, are of far wider interest to other football clubs, fans and the public in general. The recent attempted breakaway by some EPL clubs and the reaction of the government and public to it has again highlighted the need for transparency and fairness in football governance. Gone are the days when important decisions that affect clubs and their fans should be made secretly behind closed doors and away from the public eye. The club has nothing to hide with respect to the arbitration and invites the EPL to agree that it should no longer be held behind closed doors. If the EPL has acted lawfully and properly, it should have no reason to be afraid of the public spotlight. To date, the EPL has strongly resisted any public scrutiny of its decision-making process. It tried and failed to prevent the High Court's judgment about elements of the arbitration being published last February. It is currently attempting to prevent the competition courts considering a claim by the club's sellers from taking place in public, arguing that too should be held in a confidential arbitration. So the club has invited the EPL to agree, as the claim raises such important issues to sports governance, transparency and openness, that it should be held in public. The club is prepared for every stage of the process to be in public. The public should be able to see the parties' evidence and arguments, as well as the full decision of the tribunal when it is made. The government quite rightly threatened to intervene in reaction to the proposed breakaway from the EPL earlier this year, and the reaction of football fans and the wider public was instrumental in stopping the emergence of the European Super League. If the EPL continues to insist that the club's claim must be determined behind closed doors, the club asks that MPs, the government, the media and the general public call on the EPL to finally accept public scrutiny of its decision-making process. Yes, long, wordy, not the sort of thing that Mike Ashley or Lee Charnley would normally put out. You've got to think this has gone through the hands of Nick DeMarco, and he is literally just warming up to swing the first punch in this battle that will intensify from Monday onwards. Surprisingly, you will be shocked to hear the Premier League have come out tonight with a no comment. That's come from local media. It's come from people at the club, all saying that when they've been pushed, when Richard Masters has been contacted, no comment. Surprise, surprise is the reply back. And yeah, although I do think it's rich coming from Newcastle and everything with the the edge on it, you've got to be confident in what you're doing to be able to air your laundry in public. And Newcastle saying on our side, we are willing to air our laundry in public. Are you able to, and do you think that you're comfortable with doing that? Because let's face it, there can be nothing in there from a business perspective that's going to be, to compromise any future deals or anything like that. It's just the Premier League trying to run the boys' club again, and this is how we got in the mess with the ESL in the first place, with conversations taking place in secret and handshakes and paper bags and threats and nudges and emails and all this sort of thing. To me, there should be no reason why it shouldn't be. Football is nothing without the fans. Fans are football. And the likes of the Premier League need to remember that. We are at the core of it. We are at the heart. You've only got to see what's been happening when fans have been able to get back into the England games, and then how it's been for the previous season with no fans in. It's been sterile. It's not been the same. The product's been down. The excitement, the drama, everything else. It's not the same without fans. So you're walking an absolute tightrope. And Newcastle fans, out of probably most other fans, deserve it. We have been put through the shitter for, I touch it, over a decade, 14 years plus now. Mike Ashley talked about it before and put it in the way of winning the lottery but not being able to cash the ticket. And this process has been so drawn out. It finally looks like it's getting ahead on Monday, and this is just the opening gambits and stuff like this, but it will be absolutely fascinating. Surely the Premier League have to come out with something, with such a wordy, meaty statement, with them already on the ropes looking like complete and utter fucking jackasses by just putting a no comment out. They're going to have to get their heads together and come out with something. And I personally just think it looks more from a matter of strength from Newcastle's side as opposed to the Premier League side. They do not come out of this looking good, especially after recent events. And it's crisis after crisis under the stewardship of Dick Master in charge of the Premier League. Since he took over the reins, it really has gone absolutely, to the dogs. It really has. So interesting to see what comes out. Hopefully more meat on the bones over the course of tomorrow and then into the weekend. The Premier League have to respond. You cannot do the old Nigel Pearson ostrich thing and stick your head in this, the sand and pretend that nothing is happening, because this court case is very much real. The statement talks about the PIF. We've already had the likes of Amanda Staveley's husband retweeting it and agreeing with what the statement is saying. So it does show and does give you some subtle hints about unity from the purchasing side as well as from Mike Ashley's side and stuff. And you've got to think, with his track record of business, he wouldn't be doing this unless he was severely confident of getting what he wants. He will not want a bloody nose, Mike Ashley. The last thing that a man who's successful in business wants is a bloody nose. And you don't hire the best, and the best is Nick DeMarco in this field, without being ultra confident of getting it done and sorted. And yeah, I think the government do have to come out. They said a lot of things after the ESL fiasco and stuff like that. What's actually happened? What has actually happened since the ESL shenanigans came out in the wash? I'll tell you something. A couple of sound bites, but fuck all. Absolutely nothing. And it's shocking that the national game with billions of pounds, and there's no proper due process on the entire thing. It's shocking. Boris and the rest of his merry men need to stop messing around, stop doing what they've been doing, and actually tackle some of the real issues going on. This not only affects our football club massively, which is in an absolute state of rot at the moment. It's in a complete void at the moment. Nothing seemingly happening. You look at the wider northeast region and the benefits that this takeover could have, and you would imagine that they would be fighting tooth and nail to get this through. Billions of pounds worth of investment in terms of purchasing football players and tax that generates. Billions of football pounds into the community, into the foundation, into possibly the women's team, into the youth setup. And you just got to look down at Manchester. What they've done down at Manchester City could be a carbon copy of what we get up in Newcastle if we're given the opportunity that is. But yeah, definitely first swing for Newcastle tonight. Look for a reply back from the Premier League, some sort of answer back very, very shortly from the opposition side. And it would be fantastic if it was to be held in an open forum with all the evidence shared. Then certainly I think that would be good for fans. Because we're all just sitting here, we're scratching our head, what's going on? We can't complete £1 million deals whilst your Manchester United, who are controlled by absolute bastards, if you listen to the media, are going out signing like Sancho and stuff like that, you know what I mean? We're not spending, we're not capable of spending. The stadium's dropping to bits, the squad is threadbare, there's nothing still in Joe Willock. And if it wasn't for the distractions of the European Championships, I think whatever hair I've got left would probably be pulled out, because it's so frustrating being a Newcastle fan. And you would hope that people at the Premier League would be able to see that. And, you know, you're talking about mental health and stuff like that, putting the mental health of the Newcastle supporters first and foremost, and trying to be a little bit more transparent with us isn't asking a great deal. The supporters' trust, the media, the club are all trying to get answers out of the Premier League, but they are as tight as a duck's arse. Really are. But yeah, look for something else coming back from this. This is just the opening gambit. I really believe it, that there's going to be more comes from this. If it does, we'll bring it to you just as soon as possible on Magpie 24/7. Thanks for watching this extra video. Take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.